Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. In today's episode of Studio Chat, I talked to Karlie. 4 years ago, Karlie started experiencing postnatal depletion. And this is her journey, what it's been like the last 4 years. We talk about what postnatal depletion is and, what worked for her and what hasn't, and how she has felt on her low days and on her good days. Now, in this podcast, between us, we have 4 dogs, so they do feature a little bit in the podcast. But that's why I like Studio Chat, is because I keep it real, and I want my guests to keep it real. This is a very raw, honest, vulnerable podcast where Karlie was, such a beautiful human to share this side of things with us. I would like to put a disclaimer in here that 45 minutes in, Karlie does talk about suicide, and this podcast is also about postnatal depletion and postnatal depression. So if any of you do need help, there are, you can reach out to me at Self Care Studio, or if you are experiencing anything that you'd like to have help with, there's always Lifeline, which is 131114, PANDA, which is a Perinatal Anxiety and Depression Australia, 1300 726 306, or Beyond Blue, 1300 22 4636. All of those phone numbers are in the show notes in the podcast, but I really, sit down, grab a cuppa. This podcast is for mums-to-be, parents-to-be, parents in general, or those of you that have had a child within 10 years, because postnatal depletion isn't just while you're conceiving or while you're pregnant or after you've had your baby. It can be up to 10 years that you can feel these symptoms. So, I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any, please reach out to me on Instagram, self_care_studio, or send me an email, hello@barbarathompson.com.au. But I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode as much as I did. I'd like to welcome Karlie to the Studio Chat podcast today. Welcome, Karlie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this chat. So over the last 4 years, it's been a bit of a journey for you. First of all, before we talk about that journey and what that's looked like for you with postnatal depletion, I'd really love you to share with my listeners a bit about you.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a mum of 2. I've got 2 boys. Marley's the oldest, he's 10, and Albie's nearly 4. Currently living in Flinders. We've just sold, going to build a house in Calderwood. I work casual. Got 3 beautiful puppy dogs, one sitting with me now, my little protector.
Who's very cute, by the way.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And so over these last 4 years, Karlie, what has life looked like for you with postnatal depletion?
Well, very bumpy, rocky, a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows, mostly lows. But yeah, I think a lot of people get like postnatal depression and depletion mixed up. They're 2 completely different things. I think a lot of people think that I had postnatal depression, but it wasn't. I was depressed because of how I was feeling and the symptoms that I had from the depletion. So, it all sort of started when Albie was about, I think he was about 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
I had got home from hospital. My husband only had like a week at home with me after my C-section. And then he was back at work. So I was back to, getting my oldest son to school, picking him up. And of course, Albie's feed times were at those pick up and drop off times. Back to cleaning, looking after the dogs, shopping. Back to doing everything by myself. And I really remember the first day that my husband went back to work, just how tough that day was. I remember I didn't eat until 4:30 that afternoon, and it was drive-through McDonald's.
Yeah.
And I could tell then that something wasn't right. I didn't have my appetite. I didn't feel like I wasn't even drinking fluids, which is terrible. But and then I was just getting more tired. I decided to join a mother's group, which I was hesitant about because it's sort of not really my thing. But I thought, no, I'll give it a go. And it was I think it was about the third one is when it started. I remember sitting there and I remember all the mums having to go around. I'm not sure what the topic was we were talking about, but they were all going around and saying something. And I remember just sitting there and I started feeling like really spaced out, like zoned out, spaced out. I started to have this, like it's hard to explain, but it's like I wasn't really there, but I could see everything happening around me. And I started to panic and I had to get out of there. The first thing I thought was I'll just grab Albie and tell the girls I've got to go make a phone call. And I remember walking out and I knew that one of my other really good friends was in another room with her little boy doing soccer. And I just waved at her and said, can you come here, please? And she come running out and I just literally handed her Albie, like head in hands, crying, panic attack. And yeah, that's sort of where it started. And I remember going home from that, pulling up in the driveway and calling my husband at work. He had to come home. And that's sort of where it started. Just like the sort of symptoms I had were like I was lightheaded, dizzy, spaced out, zoned out. And this was like constant for 2 months. It wasn't just every now and again I felt dizzy. It was like everything was moving. Nothing was still for 2 months. I couldn't go to the shops because there was too many people and I felt that like it's like I was watching everyone move around me, but I wasn't there. Really hard to explain. Like I try my best to explain what the symptoms were like.
Yeah. Were you scared at all? Were you like...
Yes. So, yeah, I was so scared because it's like nothing I had ever experienced before these symptoms. I didn't know how long it was going to last. I also had problems. I feel like it was my nervous system. When I'd try to sleep at night, my body would jolt all the time.
Yeah.
If I heard like a crack in the window or something move, my whole body would jump, my heart would race. And even though I had my eyes closed and was trying to sleep, all of a sudden it's like my head would do a spin and like I'd sort of come to. So I wasn't sleeping. It was just really, really scary. I remember one morning I couldn't see out of one eye. I had like, the best way I can describe it is when you look into the sun and then you try and look at, like read something or look at something. It's like I was blocked from one side of my eye. And I remember just messaging my sister and I just was like, I think I'm going to pass out. Like something's not right. I can't see properly. And she was like, oh my God, just run and unlock the front door. I'll call mum and dad to come over. Because I had Albie, like I was there alone with my baby. I remember that happened a couple of times.
And is this in a space of, so obviously your first, when you noticed something was just off, that was about 8 weeks post birth.
Yes, it was, yes.
So all of this is happening in, have you got a bit of, is this maybe still 6 months on? Is this still, or 3 months on, this is still happening?
Yeah, so this all lasted for 2 months straight, all these symptoms. I finally decided to see a doctor.
Yeah.
She sent me for a CT scan of the brain and I had full bloods done. I remember having a panic attack during the CT scan as well, which I had to hide. I've become really good at hiding my panic attacks.
Oh, my God.
The CT scan was scary because there's this thing rotating around your head and you're thinking, okay, like something could be seriously wrong with me. But everything come back fine. And I was actually praying that something would come back abnormal. And I know that seems crazy, but I just wanted an answer as to what was happening. And I remember her saying, like, you're perfectly healthy. There is nothing wrong with you. Which was kind of...
Can I ask you in that moment? Yeah. In that moment where Like, can we just actually go back to you being pregnant and having a beautiful, healthy boy and having a
Yep.
C-section and recovering from that? Okay.
Yes.
That is a mammoth task for your body
Yes.
to take on. Not only have you been through that beautiful journey, it's such a, miracle, magical thing that you got your little baby boy. 8 weeks after, this stuff has happened, and it's just constant for 2 months. And now all of a sudden you're getting, you're having a CT scan and you're thinking, oh my God, there's something wrong. Now for a health professional to say to you, there's nothing wrong. How did you feel in that moment?
I felt very scared, very alone. And I just thought, I started to think I was going crazy. Like, I thought, is this in my head? Like, I started doubting myself. It was the most scariest thing I've ever been through. And she actually said to me, she said, I'm going to put it down. She said, I think you have postnatal depression.
Okay.
And I kind of felt like beating my head against a wall, because I knew it wasn't. Like, I wasn't depressed because I was more depressed because of how I was feeling, not because of coming home with a baby. Like, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
I was doing perfectly fine until these symptoms started. So she offered me to put me on an antidepressant.
Yeah.
Which I was so scared to do. So I remember having the script made up for 2 weeks in my cupboard. I had it sitting there. I was just too scared. And then I remember...
Why were you too scared? Were you worried that you're going to be even more out of control of your body?
Yes, I was worried about the side effects, because I was already anxious, panicky, and I thought, is it going to get worse going on this depressant? But I remember one day, I just felt that bad. I remember my husband coming home one night, and I was literally on the floor in a ball crying in his arms. And I was just like, I think that was my worst. Like, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't live like this. And he said to me, like, I think we really need to try the medication.
Yeah.
So I tried that, and someone had also mentioned to me to maybe just see an osteopath. They said it could be, muscle and tensions like in your back and neck can sometimes make you feel dizzy. So I went down that road as well. I was literally willing to try anything that someone had suggested to me. And then, I feel like all of a sudden things started to improve. And I had like a really good year with not thinking about it, no symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a year later that I woke up one morning and it was back. The dizziness, I knew straight away, like turning my head and looking, and I knew straight away it was back. And I was like, here we go again.
Oh, no.
So, it was scary again, returned.
Wow. Well, I'm so grateful that you're sharing. This is really vulnerable stuff. And I know it's not easy to share this because society has expectations on all of us as women, as mothers, that from the outside, we can do it all. And you look around, everyone's got their shit together. And it really judges you, like what do other people think of me? Am I a bad mother? Why is this happening to me? There's something wrong with me because clearly I look around and this is not happening to anyone else. But I know, Karlie, with you sharing this, there'll be plenty of women listening to this going, and all our bodies are different. So some of the symptoms you've got, someone may have a couple of them. But by you sharing this, it really helps other people it's okay to not be okay.
Yes, definitely. And I think too, like when I went back into that next year that I started having the symptoms, they were different symptoms as well, but I started exploring more as well. Like all up, I've seen 3 doctors, 3 osteopaths, 1 healer, 2 psychiatrists, 1 psychologist, 1 neurologist, 2 naturopaths. Currently with another naturopath now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing is just to keep fighting. And if something, like you've said to me, if something doesn't feel right, just you've just got to keep fighting. You've just got to keep going, which is what I did. I think in that next year that I had the symptoms, it was actually, things actually got worse than that first year. It was more, like the dizziness come back. I felt like these waves of panic would come over me. I remember being at work and I was in tears. I had to leave. And I was at the point where I remember saying to my manager, like, I think it's easier if I'm not here. And I was like literally crying and she was hugging me. And I had to go home. Like she said, go home. She rang my husband and said, you need to get home to Karlie. And I remember what got me through was him just saying to me, like, I promise you, you're not going to feel like this forever. I'm here with you. We're going to do this together. And yeah, that's when I started investigating more and went down every avenue I could think of, made appointments. I was literally spending so much money on all these appointments to just try and get to the bottom of how I was feeling. So yeah, like I'll mention it, like a few things that did help me. I think, starting on the antidepressant, I think in a way that helped with my panic attacks.
Yeah.
I did see another doctor. She ordered more bloods. I had an MRI, which was clear. She sent me to a neurologist, which he wasn't the greatest. I felt like all my answers were wrong in his eyes, but he did put me on a beta blocker, which slows your heart rate. Like it can't get to a high rate, which that really helped me. And yeah, he noticed that my vitamin C levels were dangerously low. So that's something else that helps. Like I got on some vitamin C. But yeah, I did notice something that I did notice with these waves of depression that I was getting. Like there's so many different things I felt, but one of them was that I would get the day I had a really upset stomach, and it's probably too much information, I was on and off the toilet probably 10 times a day. And those days, the waves of depression would hit me. So then I started investigating my gut. I seen a psychologist. She was absolutely amazing. Like I looked forward to seeing her. I felt safe with her, just talking to her, knowing that she was there. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I kept fighting and I'm so much better now. Like, and whoever needs it, the book, The Post Natal Depletion Cure, I say it's just by Dr. Oscar because I can't pronounce his surname, but he's amazing. The book is amazing. Yep. And I'm currently working with him now in Byron Bay with him and another naturopath. I've, been through a lot, but I'm still here and I'm still fighting.
Yeah. So today, right now, how are you feeling? How are you feeling physically?
Yeah, good. A lot better. I sometimes get a little bit of a dizzy spell, where I'll sort of all of a sudden turn my head and I feel like, whoa, like everything's moving for a few seconds.
Yeah.
But that's rare and that's nothing like what I went through in those 2 separate years. So it's improved a lot.
Yeah. And emotionally, how are you feeling like just today?
Yeah, a lot better. Like I'm not having the anxiety that I had. I'm not having the panic attacks. I think the most thing that I still deal with though is, though it's been 4 years, I still wake up every single morning and think about it every day, all day. Is it going to come back? Like the way I felt that first time after that, when Ali was 8 weeks old, it's like it's taken over my life and it's kind of like traumatic for me what happened. And I, like every morning I sit up in bed and I think, is it back? Am I dizzy? Do I feel okay? Like, is it going to come back today? Am I going to relive what I had to go through, like the worst time of my life? But that's the thing that I'm trying to work on now. But I'm feeling so much better, heaps better.
Yeah. And I think that's a normal, really understandable, normal feelings, everything that you feel every morning you wake up. Anyone that has been through what you've been through would be feeling exactly the same. It's, really normal. I just want to share a little bit about postnatal depletion. If people are listening to this and they're like, oh, I've never heard of it before, or I don't know what it is. So there's 4 factors in postnatal depletion. There's stress factors, social factors, physical factors, and environmental factors. And what happens is when, especially in our Western culture, when we have a child, we're not given enough time to recover. And most of the time we start off depleted, which means you don't have enough nutrients and stuff in your body when you're pregnant. Then you go through either the vaginal birth or you go through C-section, and then we don't have enough time to recover as a Western society or Western culture because of our society expectations that we can do it all and we're amazing. We are amazing, but and then what happens because of that, we're so depleted that in the next 12 months after having given birth to a child, you've got to rebuild your macronutrients, rebuild your hormones, rebuild your energy, and rebuild your sleep. And I think, a lot of us think that, I'm not a mum myself, but I see it all the time with my clients and stuff, that when you become a mum, it's like you lose a bit of yourself. And I mean this with love, because you don't know how to get your life back. So also dealing with all of this emotional and physical stuff, you have Karlie, the person, or the mum that you were before you had children, and before you have 1 or you have 2 or how many children you have. But after becoming a mum, you're like, well, not only do you have to deal with these physical and emotional symptoms, but you've got to be like, who am I now?
Yes, definitely. Yes. And I think, you know, like in the book, I think any parent out there that's, you know, going through a bit of a rough time, I would highly recommend to get this book. I have it if you want to borrow it. Just reach out to me or Barbara. I'm more than happy for you to read it. It does say in different countries, just for instance, China, when those mums get home from the hospital, they're literally weighted on hand and foot for like 2 to 3 months. They literally lay in bed. They're given like nutritious food, fluids. Someone is there to literally help them with the baby. They're taken care of, where I feel like here it's just not like that. We have to jump straight back into the cooking, the cleaning, you know, driving the kids to school, everything. Like it's just, the rate of,
something from an outside perspective, obviously not being a mum, but also all my girlfriends are and all my clients are, and I see it from it. Like I have a really good bird's eye view of, I see women before they conceive, while they're pregnant, and after they've had Bubba. And I see that there's the society expectations that everyone I know is an amazing mum, but you push yourself because you want to be the best mum you can be. And with that, everyone else around you is making a new one of the dogs will bark. Come here. The society expectations that you have to do it all, but because you see everyone else around you that is so got it all together, when no woman talks about this, but also you've got to look a certain way. So now with social media and everything, and I've seen it over the last 2 months a lot. I don't know what's on to do with my algorithm, but I've seen a lot of women, different ages, within 4 or 5 weeks post bikini shots of their body back to whatever it was. That's I'm going to call bullshit on that. That's not normal. That's not okay. But it's driving our society expectations and driving new mums that, you almost get a reward or a medal. Like, I had a baby. It's okay. I'm out shopping. I'm out having coffee with my girlfriends and my baby's a week old. Like, do you find that it's this women push themselves to be okay, to hide it, to be like everyone else? But it's like the secret society. Everyone's suffering, but no one talks about it.
Oh, definitely. Yes, definitely. Like I remember coming home and, you know, straight away as well, putting pressure on myself about my weight. And, you know, looking back at old photos and thinking, okay, like I've got to think about losing weight too. But yeah, it's just one of the most stressful things that you can go through, is being a parent. And I also had a really tough time with my pregnancy too, which is probably a whole different other podcast.
Yeah.
We don't have all day here.
No.
Like it's really sad that you know, those other countries have a really low rate of postnatal depression, and we're quite high here in Australia.
Do you think a lot of it is because as a new mum, this drive to be an amazing mum, to have it all together, to be, I don't know where we get these expectations from, but it's like, to get a medal and to be an amazing mum, we have to go. We have to like be busy all the time. We have to have the house perfect. We have to look perfect. We have to be perfect, whatever that is. Do you find that if more women talk about it and actually put the hand up and go, I'm really struggling, but to take this, there's no such thing as perfect. And if we take
yeah. And I admit I held in a lot of how I was feeling, because I think when you talk about it, it becomes real. And I didn't want it to be real, the way I was feeling, so I held it in. But I remember now I've learned from it. Like, I remember just, falling apart that night and telling my husband everything. Having, someone to talk to is the most important thing. And, I want anyone listening, like any parent, to know that you are not alone. Like, other people feel exactly the same way that you do. And there are people out there that can help. There are a lot that probably can't help you, but there are a lot that can help. And yeah, like I'm always here. Like, if you ever want to reach out to me and have a chat, like, I think that's the most important thing, is to just speak up and talk to someone. Communication is the key.
But do you find too, with all the roads you've gone down and finally found things that are working for you, having someone validate your feelings and to actually see you and be like, yes, if your body's doing all this and it's saying there is something there, not discounting how you feel, did that really help you heal and kind of move forward?
Yes, because I was seeing all these doctors and specialists, and they were like, there's nothing wrong with you, like, you're fine, you're healthy.
Man.
That was so frustrating. Like, it was really, really frustrating. Because like I said before, I wanted something to come back abnormal.
Yeah.
And as terrible as it sounds, I didn't care what it was. I just needed like a reason, like an answer as to what was happening. And that's why these people, like, and yourself, like, I remember my first session with you, when I told you everything, and you straight away, you were like, I can tell you now what was happened. And even that made me feel like, oh, thank God, someone understands. Like, someone's like not saying that you're crazy, it's in your head.
Yeah, I could see it clearly. Like, if your body's giving you all these, I talk a lot about biofeedback, and that's when your body's giving you all these signs, and it's not doing it to be an asshole. It's actually doing it because even though how much we can hate our bodies, and especially women, we hate our bodies so much, but when you learn to recover your self-love and learn that, it's amazing the difference it can make to you mentally and physically. I actually haven't shared this with you, but I just something that when you said that you feel like you wanted the results to come back bad.
Yes.
When I was experiencing anxiety for the first time and a bit of depression and stuff, I remember driving and I had to pull over because I was getting head spins and stuff. And I thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. And I got a full blood. You've just actually sparked something in me because I forgot about this. And I went and got a full set of bloods, and the doctor called me in, and I thought, righto, I've just been through hell in my life the last couple of years. Yep, I know it's going to be something really bad. And he
looked, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This is it.
I'm out. I'm checking out. Oh, wow. It's been a pretty good run. It's been pretty shit, but oh, wow. And I was sitting in his office, and he looked at the thing and said, you're all good. And I went, bullshit, show me the results. And this is before I got into kind of what I'm into now. And I looked at it and he goes, it's just probably anxiety, Barbara. And I was like, wow. Like, I know how powerful just having anxiety and a bit of depression is it's just, I literally thought I was disease ridden and there was something wrong because I was so dizzy. I was so feeling like, I literally thought, guys, that there was something, like you said, there's something wrong. I know it's going to come back. And when they say there's nothing, you're like, no, I'm not making this up. I know how I feel.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think if I had just had, like, if someone sat down and said, okay, you're going through this is why, I'd be like, oh, thank God, like, okay, I can learn to live with it. And I just wanted an answer, and or someone else to be like, oh yeah, I've I've got that. I've been through that before. I know what it's like. But yeah, I just needed that, like you said, that sort of validation that it's normal and someone else has been through it. And that's what I'm still searching now, like 4 years later, I'm still searching, but I'm really grateful to be seeing you. I feel like you've helped me a lot, especially this last week is probably the best I've ever felt since having Albie, just nutrition wise, I think, and drinking more water and little things like that. And I'm grateful to be seeing Dr. Oscar and his naturopath at the clinic in Byron Bay. I'm about going to Byron to have an appointment with him because he said my case is sort of quite unique, and he wants to look into it further. So yeah, like I'm feeling a lot better and really supported at the moment.
Yeah, but I also think too is with your sleep. So
yes,
I know with a lot of us, we want to, wherever we are in our journey, especially if we've a new mum, that we want to feel better, but we don't realize that to feel better, it's not just one thing. It's like a combination of your sleep, your mindset, your movement, what you're eating, what your nutrition levels are. And a lot of people roll their eyes and go, oh my God, but it's the truth. Like, it's like, you kind of need to look at everything in the umbrella and go, how's your sleep? How's your movement? How's your stress levels? How's this? I don't know about you, but how many times are we actually asked that stuff? But actually,
never.
No, never. And that's why we beat ourselves up. Why are we feeling like this? Why are we feeling like this? And it's like, because these are our markers, and like we've worked together and we've looked at your sleep routine and stuff, and I know that that's changed your life already.
I've changed it. I've been so good. I've been turning off like all TV and lights and things at like 10:30, which is really early for me, but I've listened to you. And I'm having my hot chocolate at night. What is it? Moon milk. I'm listening to a podcast in the dark. And it's been helping. Like, I'm really trying. I'm still trying 4 years later. But like,
we're not perfect. Really, it's going back to that all or nothing, trying to be perfect. It's really hard. We just have to stop ourselves and go, I'm doing the best I can. You just take day by day. I'm going to do the best I can today. And if I don't do it, that's okay, because I've always got tomorrow. Like, it's you have to take that pressure off yourself and be like, I'm a human being. Like, we're not perfect, but that's the beauty in it. And to go, okay, my sleep's getting better. And sleep is one of the biggest foundations. It's almost like when you build a house, it's the concrete slab that goes in the floor. If you don't have your sleep, or your body doesn't have a routine, no how pretty the house looks, it's not going to be stable.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I think the sleep routine has definitely helped me a lot. This is the first week that I haven't sort of had those, those eyes that you get through the day where they're burning and you just want to close them. So yeah, like I'm so open, and I think it's really good to try different things and change up your routine. Baby steps. I feel like baby steps. Just try something different every week. Like you said, don't rush everything. I don't drink water, and you said don't drink 3 liters the first day. Like, blood everything out. Like, I've been having 500 mils a day, and I think baby steps, one thing at a time. And it helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Just little bits and pieces, but we all want everything now, and that's a normal. We're humans, and I think just doing little steps at a time and just recording. I'm really big on writing things down, because we can, like, you can say, any of my clients can say to me, oh my God, Barbara, I've had such a shit week, I've had such a shit sleep. But if you actually wrote down how much sleep you had, and each morning just how you feel, you might have 2 nights of really broken sleep and a shitty sleep. But what we do as human beings is we always focus, we're hardwired negative, like on the negative side. So we will instantly look, in 7 days, we've had 2 shit days. So when I see my clients like, oh, I've had a shit week, I've had shit sleep. You haven't. 2 out of the 7's been bad. To me, that's a good week. But we don't record it. We just do it off the top of our head and be like, oh yeah, I feel really crappy. But if we actually look at the evidence and we write things down and record things, because we deserve to be healthy, it can be overwhelming to start with, and that's why you need support. That's why you need to see someone, And you know what? Working with me, if you pick up one thing, that's great. And you work with someone else, you pick up one thing, like that's all it takes is you building your own toolkit to find this works for me. This, no, I don't really like that. I'll try that. And in 5 years' time, you may remember something I said and something might pop up and you'll be like, oh, I might try that bone broth. And you try it and be like, oh, I quite like that. But 5 years ago, it was awful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's what's brought you to, because you want answers. You're, such a beautiful, driven human being that you're like, no, I'm not. Because unfortunately, there's some people out there that don't have the support around them. Don't have people around them. They're very lonely and they will just sit in it. And we get comfortable with being in a negative pit, and our human body likes being negative, and we want to be comfortable. So we get kind of how do I describe it? We get some good feelings of being depressed and negative because it's how we're hardwired. And that's why a lot of people don't want to change or reach out for help, because there's some comfort in being like, because you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like to be depressed. You know what it feels like to be anxious, but you don't really want to go the other way because you're too scared. So you'll just sit in it because it's comfort.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I did that for, a long time. But I know there's a lot of parents out there that don't have that support. But just know that, speaking up and communicating, see your local doctor, just reach out to anyone. But communication and I feel like speaking up about what you're going through and how you feel, even though it's really tough, can help in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and that's why I'm honoured to have you. It's a privilege to have you on this podcast today, because when I first met you, I thought, wow, to say something's not right and to keep going when health professionals and people that are trained we're not just talking one or two people here, we're talking a number of people. There's nothing wrong with you, Karlie. There's nothing. So before we wrap up, I would just like to ask you one more thing too, is there anything else that you'd like to share, if anyone's listening to this right now, what you would like them to know?
Just that it is, I don't think there's anything wrong with, if you are feeling down or depressed, or you are you do feel depleted, like it is completely normal. I don't want anybody to feel like they're alone or have to go through this alone. I'm not sure who's listening, but I'm always here. Like if anybody wants to reach out to myself or Barbara, I just don't want anyone to ever think that they're alone or go through this alone, because it's not a nice place to be. But I promise you that there are things that you can do that can help and that can get you through this. And I've seen that many bloody people. I can name who can help and who can't.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that there is hope and nothing lasts forever. Things do get better. And I just don't want anyone to feel alone. That's my thing. I've been lucky enough to have an amazing husband to help me through this, and beautiful friends. But I know a lot of parents out there are alone. But I just want them to know that there are ways out of this, and you're not going to be like this forever. Like I promise you, there are things that can help.
Yeah, and whether it's medication or whether it's seeing counselor or psychologist for the mind or whatever it is, but the mind and the body are connected, so it is kind of a good idea to do a bit of both. But
definitely, I've been through the ringer, and I can just give you hints and tips, and things that work for me, things that didn't. Everybody is different. Like things that work for me might not work for someone else. But it's just giving it a go. It's just trying everything that you can.
Yeah, I think that's and I'll definitely put in the show notes the book that you've spoken about today, the Postnatal Depletion Cure. I'll actually put that book in the show notes so people can click on it and see and buy it if they need to, if they want to have a copy. But it's such a beautiful book because it talks about the mind-body connection, and it talks about that every symptom or everything that you're feeling, your body's trying to tell you something, but we ignore it and just push.
Yes, and what I forgot to say before, actually, in the book, it says that it can take, after having a baby, it can take up to 10 years for your body to get back to normal.
Wow. Yep.
You know, if you aren't feeling right after having a baby, it's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. And yeah, I'm so glad I read that book, because it sort of set in for me like, okay, it could take even longer for me to feel myself again. I've come to the conclusion and realised that I might not feel like myself for even a few more years yet.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do everything I can to try and speed that up and help my body and my mind mentally. Yeah.
Can we just celebrate? I just got goosebumps as I'm going to say this, but I really get pissed off, because if I ever was to have a kid, I would definitely be like the lady in China. Like, everyone would be running around after me, because that's how I am, right? But I from an early age, my friends had kids before I was 20, and I saw that process, and I would always go, and I say this to all my clients, anyone I know, when you've had a baby, I'm like, oh my God, you're so incredible. That's so amazing. And they just, shut up, Barbara. It's no big deal. It's nothing. And I just get really pissed off and upset with society, because I'm sorry, it is a big fucking deal. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of the biggest things you'll ever do in your life. But even conceiving, even carrying the child for how long you do, having the baby, whatever, like, and then afterwards, I'm sorry, but it's not. It really needs to have more accolades. Like, you guys, all mums out there, need to have, like, I don't know, a gold. I talk about this all the time. A gold medal. You need to get an award from the Queen or something to say you've had a baby.
Oh, hell yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, that's how I. or like a cash bonus or something. I don't know. Just because it is such a big deal, and I think society over time has just been like, oh, well, are you going to work the next day? Oh, that's good. Off you go. You know, it's expected for you to. It's almost just like I can't even compare it to anything, because there's nothing out there. But you know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, you've had a baby, cool, you're back to work. You've got 4 kids and you're doing everything. That's, you know, you're a superhero.
Definitely, it's probably one of the hardest things that you will ever have to do. Most rewarding, but one of the hardest things I think I have ever done. And like I said, I even had a lot of problems from the moment I found out I was pregnant with Albie. I had issue after issue after issue. So,
and this is your
pregnancy,
wasn't it?
Yeah, second. So, first one was amazing, like perfect pregnancy. But the second was completely different, and I had a lot of problems from day dot, which I think didn't help to my anxiety and things like that leading up to actually having him. So, and I found my C-section quite traumatic as well.
Oh, okay. It wasn't an emergency C-section, or was it scheduled?
It was planned, because I had a C-section with Marley. So I had a lot of complications when I went into labour with him. So I just wanted to have a planned C-section. But yeah, I found it quite traumatic. I felt a lot, and I feel like I felt things that I shouldn't have. I felt like I just wanted to say stop, because I could feel so much going on.
Is that normal that you're supposed to? I think you're supposed to feel a bit of pushing and tugging and stuff. I have heard that you. I don't think they prep you enough. Is one thing, is they don't tell you. Cesareans aren't spoken a lot about, because it's like I don't know, but I have because this really fascinates me. So I've done so much reading and stuff about it, but I have heard that it is normal, whatever you want to say, to feel a bit of tugging, a bit of movement, but you're never prepped properly. So you kind of go in and you're kind of like, is this normal? Do I need to say something? Should I use my voice, or should I just shut up?
Well, yeah, it actually hurt me, and I was like,
oh yeah,
I'm hurting, like it hurts me. And they're like, oh, you will feel a little bit of pulling and tugging, but yeah, it's, if anyone says, I've seen things on social media and that people say, oh, C-sections are they're the easy way out, they're the cheap way out of having a baby. It's not
major abdominal surgery.
It's major surgery. And yeah, they're both as bad as each other. I think women that go through natural birth, it's so hard as well. They're both just as hard as each other. But yeah, I really, really dislike people saying that C-sections are your easy way out, because I can assure you it is not. When you know you're laying on a table awake and you have people's hands inside you and you can feel them moving around. Sorry.
No one can see me, but I'm actually hiding my head in my. That's such a little kid reaction, eh? I put my head in my t-shirt when you were saying that.
That is honestly what it's like. And different parts that they move their hands inside you, your heart rate goes sky high, and then they'll move to a different part and it drops completely. Some parts they're inside of you, you feel nauseous. Your body is moving around on the table. Sorry.
You're selling it to me. You're really selling this to me. Unfortunately, with my age, if I was to have a baby now in the next couple of years, I would have to have a C-section probably. So you are selling it to me.
Sorry.
Where's my vodka bottle?
Yeah, like when I went to see the healer, she thinks that everything that I was going through come from that traumatic stress disorder from the C-section. I don't think it was. I just think it was part of it, going through that. It's not very nice, but it definitely wasn't the cause of what I was going through. But yeah, C-section's lovely.
Everything's added up for you, Karlie. I think everything is just, it's just added on. It wasn't just one particular thing for you. I think it was just, and because your first pregnancy was great and amazing, that compare it to that. So I think in the back of your mind, you would have had that as your benchmark, and now all of a sudden, pregnancy and birth isn't, things can change.
Yeah, it's not all smooth sailing. Sometimes I remember when I was pregnant with Albie, I was probably, I think one of those days was probably my darkest. And I remember he must have been sitting a certain way, but I literally couldn't breathe. Like I felt like I was suffocating all day, and it got worse at night. And I would even have dreams that I was suffocating in my dream or drowning and I couldn't breathe.
Wow.
I remember one night I remember my husband found me sitting outside and I was in tears, and I literally just said to him, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be here. And it sounds terrible because I was pregnant, but at that moment I wasn't thinking about anything else but how I was feeling, and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I think is what snapped me out of that was firstly knowing that my older son is just loves me to death. He needs his mum in his life. But the other thing was that night when I went to sleep, it's probably going to sound terrible, but I remember waking up and my husband had his head over my chest and making sure I was still breathing.
Yeah.
And because he was, after that conversation, he was just worried that what I might do, and seeing him crying and wanting to check to make sure I'm alive, that sort of like was like, wow, okay, like, Karlie, you got to keep fighting. Like you've got people that love you. So yeah, like, I mean, my story, yeah.
I've heard that a lot. I've heard a lot of pregnant women share with me over time, no matter, and they're very grateful to be pregnant, very, very grateful.
Yes. Yes.
But in them, they just don't want to be here anymore. And that's a really common, I hear it more often than what people would believe, that they're pregnant and they're like, this is everything I've ever wanted. I know I should be grateful, but I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, people, might judge me for it, but that's
not at all.
How I felt. That's how I felt. I felt like it was easier for me to just go to sleep and not wake up.
Yeah.
That's how I felt in that moment. But is what got me out of that was, it was my older son. He needs his mummy around. Like, he needed me. And,
we need you too, by the way.
I know. And like I don't want people to think I'm, suicidal right now, because I'm not. But yes, I'll be honest. And I have gone through certain times in my life where I was suicidal, and I thought it'd be easier if I'm not here. I even thought about, well, if I was to do it, how would I do it? But I pushed and pushed to get better. I've done everything I can. I have fought for my life, fought for my kids. I'm here with them. I love them. I'm never going to leave them. but it's just a normal, natural thing to go through as a parent. It's not abnormal. There is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I really want people to know that too. Like, you know, it is so normal to some days have a thought in your head where like, gosh, you know, it's easier if I'm not here. But it does happen. It's normal. But you just got to keep fighting like I am.
It's very normal because our thoughts are our thoughts, and we think that they're true a lot of the time, but they're not reality. They're not real, but our thoughts are real, if you know what I mean. So
yeah.
It's really normal. And I'm sure people listening to this, I've had a moment too where I'm not a mum, but I had a moment where I don't want to do this anymore. And I just think I want to go. I think it might be easier. And
yes,
if people are listening to this and they haven't had that moment in their life, like I never thought I would be that person, but circumstances in life can change in a heartbeat, and you can find yourself in that place where you have those thoughts, and it's okay to not be okay. It is, I come across it myself personally, and with everyone that I know at some point in their life, they have had that thought, and it's please reach out for help or just say you're not okay. And just there's plenty of people out there. And when you are vulnerable enough, I want to thank you today, Karlie, for sharing everything that you've shared, for being so vulnerable and honest and really sharing your story and your journey, what it's been like for these last 4 years. So I know that this is going to help so many people. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I just really wanted to come on today and be raw and real and just be honest. And hopefully I can, help someone out there that has felt the same or is feeling the same. And like I said, I'm always here. My door is always open. So please reach out if you want to chat.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to chat to you, and I will chat to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathompson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!